The prison gate groaned as if it resisted letting him go. Years had been stripped away inside those walls, but the man who stepped out was not broken. He was sharpened. His face carried the calm of someone who had counted every day, every hour, every second, waiting for this exact moment. The air outside was heavier than he remembered, thick with silence. No applause, no welcome, no freedom parade, just a folder in his hand, stamped and signed. That paper wasn't redemption. It was something darker, a clause hidden deep in the system, giving him one thing no criminal should ever own: the right to settle debts. He didn't walk away from prison like a man saved. He walked away like an executioner, finally freed to finish what had been interrupted. And somewhere in the city, 3 names waited, each one a promise. In the dim light of a backroom office, he placed the folder on the table. A young lawyer, nervous but precise, slid a document toward him. "Clause 17, the lawyer whispered, as though saying it too loud could burn the paper. "It's a legal loophole, rare, buried in the state code. It allows you to neutralize anyone proven to be a direct threat to your safety within a limited window." The assassin's eyes scanned the fine print. What looked like law was, in truth, a license. A system desperate to wash its hands of unfinished business had signed away morality in ink. The lawyer swallowed hard. "So you understand, once you use this, there's no turning back. It will make you legal, but it will make you hunted." The man folded the paper with care, slid it back into the folder, and stood. "I didn't come here for freedom," he said, voice steady. "I came for balance." And in that single moment, Clause 17 became more than law. It became destiny. In a dim motel room, he spread the folder across the bed. Every page was marked, every corner folded. But at the center were 3 photographs, each circled in red ink, staring back at him like ghosts. The first, a cartel broker, slick smile, the man who sold him out for a briefcase of cash. The second, a decorated detective, a hero in the public eye, but the one who planted the gun that sealed his conviction. And the third, the kingmaker, an untouchable tycoon whose fortune had bought not just the verdict, but half the city itself. Each face carried a story of betrayal, each name a wound carved into his past. He whispered them aloud, not as reminders, but as promises. For years, the system had protected these men. Now the system had handed him the knife, and for the first time since prison, he allowed himself a thin, dangerous smile. 3 names, 3 debts. One by one, they would fall. The night was restless. Neon lights bled across wet asphalt as he walked, collar raised against the wind. Every step echoed like a warning. He wasn't alone. From across the street, in the reflection of a darkened store window, he caught it. A figure lingering too long, always a few paces behind. Not careless, not random. Someone trained, someone watching. He tested it. Crossed the street suddenly, paused beneath a flickering street lamp. The shadow mirrored him, subtle, precise. Whoever it was didn't strike, didn't speak, just observed, patient, waiting. The assassin tightened his grip on the folder. Clause 17 gave him the right to hunt, but it also painted a target on his back. He knew enough to recognize it. Predators attract predators. And now, before the first name was even crossed off the list, he had one more question clawing at his mind. Who is hunting me? The docks reeked of salt, oil, and blood long dried into the wood. Cargo cranes loomed like gallows against the midnight sky. This was where the cartel broker always felt untouchable, surrounded by men, money, and shadows that did his bidding. But tonight, something shifted. A lone figure moved through the maze of containers, silent as the tide. The assassin was not there to talk. He was there to collect. The broker laughed too loud, tossed envelopes to his guards, never noticing the watcher closing in. Then came the moment, the choke of silence, when one guard dropped without a sound, another disarmed in a blur. By the time the broker reached for his pistol, it was already too late. "Remember me?" the assassin whispered, pressing him against cold steel. The ledger slid from the broker's coat, thick with names and numbers, evidence and direction. When the body hit the water, the city barely stirred. But for the assassin, the hunt had begun, and one debt was finally paid. He knew the detective would never come willingly. Men like him only appeared when they believed they were in control, when they smelled fear. So the assassin set the stage. In an abandoned crosswalk downtown, he left just enough of a trail, whispers on the street, a planted tip, the illusion of weakness. A rumor that he was alone, exposed and desperate, and right on cue, headlights cut through the fog. A black sedan screeched to a stop, doors swinging wide. The detective stepped out, polished shoes on cracked pavement, flanked by a kill team with rifles raised. "Thought you'd crawl out of your hole sooner or later," the detective sneered, flashing a grin meant to intimidate. "Too bad this ends tonight." But the assassin stood calm, hands lowered, eyes steady. This wasn't surrender, this was bait, and the detective had taken it. The street was dead silent until the rifles cracked. Muzzle flashes lit up the fog, sparks ricocheted off metal, and echoes bounced between empty buildings. But the assassin wasn't where they thought. From the shadows above, he dropped like a blade. One gunman fell before his scream even left his throat. Another spun around just in time to meet steel in silence. The detective panicked, barking orders, firing blindly into the night. "Find him! End it now!" But every shout was answered with another body hitting the pavement. Then in the chaos, the assassin stepped into the light, face to face with the man who once framed him. Their eyes locked, years of betrayal crashing into this one moment. "You planted the weapon," the assassin said, voice low and steady. "Now you'll choke on it." The detective's grin collapsed into fear, and the ambush he thought he commanded had just turned into his own execution. The echoes of the ambush still clung to him as he slipped into the night, but with every step the weight of memory grew heavier. Revenge wasn't just about names on a list, it was about the night everything was taken. He remembered the flash of red and blue lights, the handcuffs biting his wrists, and the silence of a courtroom where lies spoke louder than truth. But deeper than that was the memory he never escaped. The child. A small crib lit by a single lamp. A lullaby sung in whispers before the door burst open, and his world collapsed. He had taken the fall not only to survive, but to protect a life that had barely begun, his own blood. That sacrifice had cost him years behind bars, years stolen. And now, as he stared at the city skyline, the truth burned clear. This vengeance was not only for him, it was for the child who never knew his name. Beneath glittering chandeliers and velvet curtains, the city's elite raised glasses of champagne. Cameras flashed, reporters scribbled, and applause rolled like thunder. At the center of it all stood the kingmaker, immaculate suit, silver smile, every gesture rehearsed. To the world, he was the savior of the city, building hospitals, funding schools, feeding the poor. But behind the veil of philanthropy was a ledger of blood, the same ledger now in the assassin's hands. Every toast, every handshake was another lie bought with someone else's silence. From the balcony above, the assassin watched. The man who had orchestrated his downfall now basked in applause, untouchable, shielded by wealth and image. But masks crack, and tonight, the assassin wasn't after applause. He was after the truth hiding beneath the golden smile. The gala was a fortress disguised as a feast. Security guards lined the walls, earpieces buzzing, eyes sharp. Politicians laughed too loud. Business magnates traded promises over glasses of wine, and the orchestra drowned out the whispers of corruption. The assassin moved among them unseen, wearing the crisp uniform of hired staff. A tray of crystal glasses in his hand, his eyes never left the kingmaker at the head table. Every detail was calculated, the exit routes, the blind spots, the guard rotations. From across the room, their eyes met for the first time in years. The kingmaker's smile didn't falter, but his gaze tightened just for a moment. Recognition. Fear disguised as composure. The assassin set down the tray and stepped back into shadow. He wasn't here to strike in the open, not yet. Tonight was about sending a message, one the kingmaker could feel tightening around his empire like a noose. Midnight in a skyscraper office, the gala now only an echo below. The assassin entered a boardroom, bathed in cold, fluorescent light. At the far end of the table, the lawyer awaited him, hands trembling over a single folder. This wasn't freedom," the lawyer stammered. "It was a contract. The kingmaker paid me to set you loose, only so you could be eliminated under the law you signed." The assassin's jaw tightened. Every step, every name on his list had been part of a larger design. He was never meant to survive Clause 17. It was a trap dressed in legal ink, a coffin sealed with a signature. The lawyer slid the folder across the table, unable to meet his eyes. "It's all here. Every payment, every detail. They wanted you dead before you even walked out those gates." For a long silence, the assassin stared at the document. Then he leaned forward, voice like steel. "Then we changed the terms." He unfolded the document slowly, the ink gleaming under the sterile lights. Every line, every clause had been weaponized against him. But in the hands of someone who knew how to read between the lies, a trap could become a blade. The assassin pulled a second ledger from his coat, the one taken from the cartel broker. With steady hands, he swapped the pages, slipping evidence of corruption and blood money into the contract meant to bury him. Now the signature that once condemned him transformed into proof, legal, irrefutable proof, that the kingmaker's empire was built on crime. What was once his death warrant had become the tycoon's undoing. The lawyer's voice cracked. "If they realize what you've done..." The assassin closed the folder, eyes burning cold. "Then it's already too late for them." Word spread faster than fire. By dawn, whispers of the altered contract leaked into the veins of the city. Journalists, rivals, even crooked officials began circling like vultures around the kingmaker's empire. The untouchable was suddenly vulnerable. In hidden corners, screens flickered with the evidence. Money trails, murder cover-ups, the bought verdict that had stolen years of the assassin's life. The city didn't see a hero or a villain anymore. It saw rot at the highest tower. And the kingmaker knew. He slammed his fist onto a marble desk, rage cracking through his polished mask. Find him, silence him, before this goes any further. But it was already too late. The assassin had turned the game upside down. What once was his coffin now stood as the gallows for those who betrayed him. The hunter had become the judge. The city held its breath. Newspapers hit the stands with half-truth headlines, talk shows speculated on scandals, and the streets buzzed with tension. Everyone knew something was breaking, but no one yet understood how deep the cracks went. Police precincts split into factions, some loyal to the badge, others bought long ago by the kingmaker's fortune. Radios crackled with conflicting orders. Protect him, arrest him, eliminate him. Chaos had no uniform. In smoky bars and high-rise offices, people whispered the same question. Who would fall first? The assassin or the empire? And in that fragile silence, the assassin moved unseen, every step bringing him closer to the rooftop where truth and blood would meet. The city was no longer a bystander. It was an audience, waiting for the final act. Rain slashed across the rooftop, turning concrete into glass. Sirens wailed in the distance, red and blue lights painting the night sky. And there, at the edge of the tower, the assassin faced the kingmaker at last. The tycoon's suit was soaked, his silver smile gone, replaced by the snarl of a cornered animal. Around them, helicopters hovered, spotlights cutting through the storm. "You think the city will believe you?" the kingmaker shouted over the wind. "I built this place. I own its heart." The assassin stepped closer, the contract in one hand, the truth bleeding from every page. "You don't own the city. You just rented its silence, and your time is up." The kingmaker drew a hidden pistol, trembling, desperate. But before he could fire, the assassin raised his voice, echoing into the night. "Watch closely, because this is justice." And the world below listened. With one decisive move, the contract was released. Broadcasted through hidden channels, leaked to every screen, every newsroom, every corner of the city. The ledger of crimes was no longer a secret. It was a weapon the whole world could see. The kingmaker's empire crumbled in real time. Phones rang unanswered, allies vanished, bank accounts froze. His fortress of influence collapsed, not with bullets, but with truth. Below the rooftop, crowds gathered, chanting, watching, their eyes turned upward. For once, the assassin wasn't a ghost in the shadows. He was the hand pulling rot into the light. But he didn't linger for applause. He turned away, disappearing into the storm. The legacy wasn't his name or his vengeance. It was the freedom his sacrifice carved into the city. A legacy written not in trophies or headlines, but in balance restored. In the quiet aftermath, he felt the presence again, the shadow that had followed him since the gates first opened. From the corner of the alley, a figure stepped forward, no longer hiding. It wasn't an enemy. It wasn't another hunter. It was blood. The young man's eyes carried the same fire, the same unyielding steel. "I've been watching you," he said, voice trembling between anger and awe. "Not to stop you, but to understand." The assassin froze, breath caught in his chest. He had imagined this moment for years, rehearsed it in silence, but reality struck harder than any bullet. This wasn't just a stranger. It was the child he had once given everything to protect, the child now grown, now strong, and finally standing before him. "You're not my enemy," the young man said. "You're my reason." And in that revelation, vengeance turned into something greater than survival. It became inheritance. Dawn broke across the skyline, washing the city in pale gold. Police sirens faded, helicopters withdrew, and the storm that had raged all night gave way to silence. The assassin walked the empty street with calm steps, the weight of years finally lifting from his shoulders. Behind him, the city buzzed with headlines, scandals, and arrests. The empire had fallen. Justice, twisted, brutal, imperfect, had been delivered. At the corner, he paused. His son stood watching from a distance, eyes searching for answers words could never give. The assassin nodded once, a silent promise that the debts were paid, and then turned away. To the world, he would remain a criminal. To the powerful, a nightmare. But to himself, he was something else entirely. The final balance in a ledger no court could close. And as the city awakened, he vanished into its veins, neither hero nor villain, just a man who finished what he was owed.